Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Dialar's Twi'lek Tactics. It is a Tuesday night, which usually means I'm going to be going over my This Week in Eternal Evolution segment. But I kind of beat this one to death in the video that I released yesterday, where I gave my honest review on the Collab event. You know, funny story, I wasn't even going to release that. I actually recorded that on Sunday, and then I had it set to drop Monday morning, but I got a little bit of cold feet. And then later on in the morning, I'm like, screw it, send, and I made it public. That video almost didn't see the light of day because I thought it was a little bit too harsh. But it seems to have been well reviewed. People seem to enjoy my honesty, and now it's out there. It's out there. I think it's gotten the most likes and the most comments than any of my videos to date, which is a testament to I should have followed my gut when I decided to make that video, and I should have posted it when I wanted to. Anyways, so since we hashed that to death, we're not going to discuss This Week in Eternal Evolution because it's only going to be about the collab. So I thought I would do something different, a little bit, I don't know, different. So if you guys have been, if you've ever checked out my master spreadsheet for Eternal Evolution, which is linked in the description of every video, I have on there, and I'm sorry, I just got out of the shower, my nose is itchy. I have a banner prediction sheet, and basically what I've done is I've kind of documented all of the banners that have come out since the game is launched, but then that sheet has over time has gradually become more and more. I went back and I started plugging in all the different events or all the different content that also came out with those patches. So in a way, it's almost like an Eternal Evolution roadmap. So what I did this week is that, given the sentiment in the community revolving around the game, and I'm not going to discuss that again, really. We all know what I'm talking about. I went back and I started tracking not every, like, pay-to-win part of the game, every piece of paid content, but I was trying to correlate, you know, good things and like good pieces of content they've added, but also calling them out and tracking when they've put something behind a paywall. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go down memory lane. We're going to start at the beginning, and I've kind of broken the history of Eternal Evolution since launch. It's kind of, it follows like 5 phases, or 4 phases to date, and then I think the 5th phase is going to start in January. But this is what we're going to go over. So, you know, hide your eyes because this is fairly bright. Let's start with my head in the bottom corner. So this is the sheet, and it goes right back to global launch, November 10th. I think it was 10th or 9th, something like that, somewhere around there. But the game was in a beta for a while. I know people like Dan Hallman, Ivy Lee, all of them, they were in the beta. So they predated me, but last man standing. Oh, I think Veiled might have been here for the beta too, so oh well. But you can see, I call this Phase 1 from December 6th to February 9th. And the reason why is because the game was so new, all they were basically doing was releasing heroes. So you see, like, Leo was their first new hero, Daniel, Bada, Ampu, and Servali, right? They definitely, like, fleshed out the summoner team early, because the summoner team was used primarily to defeat all the current content. Back then we had Ancient Altar. We did not have Endless Battles as we have it today. And what's it called? What did I say? Rise of Heroes was specifically a summoner piece of content. And then we just had Lost Valley, Terradome, Decent Caves, and Sincero Marsh up to level 15. So I call this Phase 1. And we did have some, you know, like, the way that they monetized the game back then was limited ticket packs because people wanted to pull for each new release hero. And then you wanted to get them to X30, so you had your red rune packs. They did sell prototypes for like $99, which they continue to do to this day. And then they had Gabuzo's Bell, Quantum Mimic, where, you know, you spend $300, you ensure you get all of the stuff that you can win on those events. And then we had associated battle passes being Wasteland and etc. Except for Hell Arena, that wasn't in the game yet. And then you had your daily passes, like your recurring daily, 30-day passes, right? I can't even remember what they are. They're in game, but we had all those kind of mechanics and those kind of packs of varying prices. But that is essentially how the game was set up. We're going to present you with the hero, and then you're going to basically purchase limited tickets to buy it. That was how they made their money. And then they relied on the other stuff, red runes, prototypes, all that stuff to bring in, supplementary income. And, they came out strong. The Christmas event right off the bat, that's when the Santa Daniel came into the game. And then a double chip the following week. Everyone was just like, oh, wow, like we had a double chip in week 3. And now we got another double chip. This is awesome. But then they gave us Bada, and she sucked. But we'll forgive them for that one. And then down here on the January 26th, and I know there was prior giant towers, but I do believe there wasn't a giant. There was a Luke giant tower somewhere up here, but I missed it, and I didn't really feel like going back into the notes to find it. But really, it was this giant tower on January 26th that kind of cemented the it as a recurring event, although they did skip it at certain points. And then we had this wishlist banner. This was the first time. This was actually on February 9th. This was for the Valentine's Day. And this was not the first iteration of a wish list, because I do remember videos back from, I think it was Dan, when I used to watch Dan, when he was the big guy, the big dog. And he said that they did have one of these wish list banners prior. But you see, we got one wish list here, and then we didn't see it again for a very, very long time. But, this was the game. So it was basically purchase limited tickets. Are your heroes better? It was the Vanguard meta because it was Crete and Leo. And the Summoners eventually kind of surpassed them. I do believe. Who do we got here? Dan, Ampu, Sorvali. And then we were using Rez and Oisa. Yeah, so Vanguards were briefly the meta. But then as soon as you got your Ampu and your Sorvali and your Daniel up and running, the Summoners became the PvP meta for a very, very long time. But very, very cool stuff. And then February 9th, we also had a Roses event, or a holiday event for Valentine's Day. So I call this Phase 1. This was right when the game was popping. Hell Hades was here. We had a huge, huge viewer base. Servers were just getting created every day. Multiple servers a day. It was a good time to be playing EE. And I came in right before the Leo launch. So I did get Leo when he came out, and he was the king. He was the king of the jungle. But I think I started about November 20th. So very, 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 very close to global launch. And that was Phase 1. That was like just the bare bones. So that was the structure that they had built the game in the beta. And that was the iteration of the game that they pushed to through the global launch. Now we're into Phase 2. So let me scroll that down. So Phase 2 started with Rickard on February 16th. And the reason why I call this Phase 2, because it goes right from February 16th all the way down to just before the middle of July. And the reason why I'm calling this Phase 2 is because this is when they fleshed out all of the content that we currently have in-game. The base iterations. This was the huge push of content in the game. And it lasted a long time. What is that? February, March, April, May, June, July. That was 6 months of glorious, regularly released content cycles. It was a good time to be in EE. So let's just go through some of this briefly. So on the February 16th, we got the first 2 dungeons that were available in the Katosian Triangle. Crimson Rot and Idar, Roulette of Truth. And then we also got the Crimson Abyss, which drastically increased our ability to level our heroes, because prior to that, it was quite a slog to get your 5 heroes up to 240 to unlock Hyper Evolution. So on the 16th, we got those 3 dungeons. On March 9th, we got Mirage Space added to Katosian Triangle. And then on the March 30th, we had the first addition to Disa Caves, like the Lost Valley dungeons. We got our first X levels. So Disa Caves came first. I remember it was good. Like, you got to remember, like, the game had only been out for like 4 months, and it was just like, yes, you've beat all this. You've beat this dungeon. Now we're adding harder levels, and you can get better things from it. So they do know how to do that. They do know how to add on to existing content, but give you rewards that are applicable to the increase in difficulty. So then we got, on the April 13th, we got the Guild vs. Guild beta, which drastically failed. It was a horrible dumpster fire piece of content. And I got to go back a little bit, but also on April 6th, we got another double chip event and the Easter events. So they kept up with their cadence of putting out, you know, double chips had come around. It was right before Christmas, and then right at April, right before Easter, or with Easter, I should say. So that was really cool. I have over here in green arrows, and there was much rejoicing. What this column above my head represents is places where they've added paid mechanics, you know, paid wall items. So I do have, with Katosian Triangle release in February, that's, you know, a lot of people were buying Katosian Triangle tickets because this was the Uber gear, right? This was it was Crimson Rot and Crimson Abyss. So summoners were still the hot thing, and Crimson Rot had the summoner gear, and Idar had the surge gear, which is what Ampu wanted. So they were able probably to add this new level of monetization to the game that they didn't have prior. These Katosian Triangle tickets. I knew a lot of people that were just buying the tickets wherever they could. These tickets became the hot item in order to get your Dan in full madness, your Ampu in full surge. That was how, I think that was how Summoners officially became cemented in the meta as soon as they got those new gear sets. And I have here March 2nd, the first Northion. Yeah, March 2nd, that's when Northion got released. And I put in here in this little green arrow, if we only knew then, right? So Disa Caves, X levels, March 30th, double chip on April 6th with the holiday event, and there was much rejoicing. But with this Easter event came another piece of paywalled content. It was the $100 Leo skin. Plus, the way that the Easter event was structured is that people that didn't have diamonds couldn't get all the rewards, and there were some really good rewards in the Easter event. If I remember right, there was a Rickert copy, there was a Ravenna skin, there was a triple S, like an SSS, is it SS? Yeah, SSS crystal at the end, a Hyper Evolution crystal, 4 diamonds just for painting eggs. But to paint eggs, it was very, very costly. You needed a lot of diamonds, like 100,000 diamonds, and a lot of people didn't have that. So they made money off of the Leo skin. I didn't buy it because it looked silly. And then a lot of people had to buy diamonds in order to basically compete in this event. The Easter event also had battles that were very, very similar to what we now know as endless battles. Way back here, even for the Christmas event and for the Valentine's Day event, the holiday events were basically the template for what endless battles became. So, and then, but there was a dark moment. There was a dark moment along with all of these Easter goodnesses, and that was that X talents got added to the game. That was the PvP talents from 1 through 5 that came with taking a hero from Immortal 0 or from Immortal 1 through 5. Now, this was the first instance where I remember there being a bunch of community backlash, because what it did, it created the first drastic step up difference between a whale and a dedicated free-to-play. Like, there was a couple videos around. I know a lot of people, no one thought it was a good thing except for whales, these X talents, and people forget about that. Like, that did cause a little bit of controversy, but given that they kept rolling out good stuff, we kind of just shuffled it under the rug, because, you know, till then they hadn't really done anything to differentiate or give whales and krakens a really big advantage like that. But it was, and what it did was it incentivized, I think I spelled incentivizes wrong, that's a weird spelling, but it incentivized people not only to pull heroes to just Immortal, which is where you can unlock their X30, but it really pushed people to keep going, because it takes, what, 8 copies to get a hero from Unlock to Immortal 0, but then it takes another 10 copies after that. So they're adding that X talents in there Didn't take a whole lot of work, but what it did was it drove a whole bunch of revenue to the game. But we overlooked it because up until this point, the game was still so free to play. Guild vs. Guild, we talked about that. It was a dumpster fire. They scrapped it very early, and they started working on what would become Hell Arena, and Hell Arena became the replacement for Guild vs. Guild. If there's anybody out there that's thinking that Guild vs. Guild is going to come back, it's not. It's dead. It was confirmed behind closed doors through, I don't know if it was through the CC reps or through the VIP, but it was confirmed that that piece of content was now dead. And the reason is we can't have it because of the way that the servers are set up, where there's, you know, only so many guilds per so many server clusters. It would be just you fighting the same guild over and over again, unless they made it so that the entire North America region could compete against itself. That's the only way that they could really have a viable Guild vs. Guild. And the window for ever trying to start that back up is closing, given the exodus of players. Because at this point, I think the game was still downtrending, but hadn't bottomed out to the current population levels that we've kind of just stayed at for a while now. So Guild vs. Guild, it was here for one iteration, then it was gone. And then we got the Sincero Marsh X levels on April 20th. And the following week, we got Dominic. And then we got the Terradome X levels as well. So you can kind of see a trend. So Miranda was the hero that allowed you to beat Sincero Marsh X levels that came out a week later. And then Dominic got released with Terradome. Dominic was the one that basically allowed you to beat Terradome X3 relatively easily. And see, what this did is this is the first time they paired a hero with the content release. And this is where, how should I put this? So this is where they started releasing heroes that you'd have to basically purchase in order to be able to complete said content. And I shouldn't say this is the first time, because if we go back here, what, Crimson Rot, that's energy. And I think we were just using like what we could. All right, no, Nordtheon. So Crimson Rot, you know, it was difficult, but Nordtheon made it easy, and he came out 2 weeks later. Crimson Abyss, that was Summoners. We could already do that. Idar, that was Rickert. So Rickert got released on the 16th with Idar boss, and that was a assassin dungeon. As such, you really needed to purchase Rickert in order to score or to complete high levels of Idar. So Phase 2, they really started matching hero releases with their content releases. But you know what? We all enjoyed it because, you know, the game was giving us enough limited tickets that even free-to-play could get a copy of a new release hero, and they could build them up to conquer the content that got released with them. You know, hero content, hero release content, release content. And then over here, as we discussed, is a little bit of monetization to help fund all of their releases. So Dominic came out with Terradome. You know, him and Rickert and Bailey, that was the dream team, and that made Terradome easy. And then we kind of had nothing for a little bit. And then we got the Tank Dungeon, Battlefield of Azura. And as you see, Womagon got released right before that. But unfortunately, if you didn't get Womagon the week prior, actually, you know what, May 11th, so Womagon's banner is a 2-week banner, so Womagon's banner would have still been open. And I guess up here, Miranda would have still been open for Sincero. And Nordtheon would have still been open for... Oh, wait, I guess Crimson Rock came before him. But, yeah, this new tank dungeon was added to Catosian Triangle. And you really needed Womagon to do that. You see Pandemonium had already been introduced in-game. In fact, Pandemonium's banner had already come back around. Womagon came out with Zeta on release. And those three, Pandemonium, Womagon, and Zeta, were able to allow you, or were more than sufficient to take down the Battlefield of Azura. And remember that it was only level 6s. It only went up to level 6 when it was released. And then Leo got released May 18th. You know, welcome back, Leo. That was his second return. Followed up quickly by Barag. And the Barag coming to the game heralded the Thundercliff dungeon, which came out that same week, right? You needed Leo, Barag, and Crete. And actually, you needed tanks back then when that dungeon first launched in order to beat that dungeon. Thundercliff dungeon was the hardest piece of content that they had ever put in game. I remember it was so hard, I was stuck on level 5 forever. Some people couldn't even get down level 4. That was really the first time we experienced that kind of like, the only people that were downing level 6 were like Krakens, like people with just maxed everything. And it was still really hard for them. Shout out to Xerax, if you remember. He was the first person, I think, in the world that beat level 6. And it wasn't easy for him. It was a little bit of RNG. But it basically required maxed Leo, maxed Barog, maxed Wamagon, maxed Zeta, and maxed Crete. I do believe he had a maxed Crete. So that was really cool. And this is when Endless Battles took over for Rise of Heroes. So Barog came with Thundercliff Dragon, the Thundercliff Dungeon, and the new Endless Battles. And what Endless Battles did now is, now that they had enough character releases under their belt, now they also started, since all the dungeons were now in-game, Endless Battles, what it allowed them to do was to also incentivize spending on new hero releases. Because we already got all the dungeons, they were already tied to heroes. Now they needed a mechanism, a piece of content in-game, in order to incentivize spending on limited tickets, in order to win or place really, really high in these Endless Battle events, which happened every 2 weeks. So, but we also got something that we've never seen again, and I have over here, and there was much rejoicing. What is that? The Lucky Week for advanced tickets. You guys remember that? So if you were not around, this was May 25th, or no, June 1st. If you guys weren't playing when this banner came out, what it did was it allowed you to get a whole heap of really old SSS heroes using advanced tickets. Like, I remember pulling on this, and I maxed my Guan Yu, I maxed my Xena, I maxed, you know, I got a bunch of Zeta. Like, this event was just amazing, and I say there was much rejoicing because that was the most just out of the blue, free-to-play friendly thing they had probably ever done. And we have never seen one of these since. I don't know why they gave this to us, but, you know, damn it, why can't they give this back to us again? Just why? That is so, it was so good. And that came with Pandemonium. And then you see down here on June 22nd, that is when the final dungeon got added to the Katosian Triangle. Again, only levels 1 through 6. And that was the Molten Abyss, and that was the Hunter dungeon. And as you can see, it got paired with Rebecca coming to the game. And I kind of skipped over this giant tower Rosaris. Here, again, whoa, no, don't do that. I gotta get it back. What did I do? I broke it. All right. Full screen. So Rosaris, Ampu, and Sorvali came as a wishlist banner on June 15th. And this was the first wishlist banner that would basically set the trend of having regular wishlist banners. And I say there was much rejoicing because we'd only ever seen a wishlist banner since launch at the Valentine's Day event, and to be able to pick Rosaris, Ampu, or Sorvali, it was a dream. You know, we've all come to kind of take for granted wishlist banners, but this was the first time it just came out of the blue. Just free to play were just awesome. Everyone was happy. You know, everyone was so happy. Phase 2 was the best and brightest moment in this game's history. Again, it lasted from just after Valentine's Day, February 16th, until July 12th. Then things changed. Because you see, there was much rejoicing. There was much rejoicing up here. There was much rejoicing. Really, for paywalled content, Katosian tickets, that wasn't a big deal because we could just buy those with crystals. Not a big deal. The Leo skin, it looked dumb. Not a lot of people bought it. And skins only gave you like 2% HP and attack, so it wasn't a big deal. And then X talents, there was a brief little community uproar, but we quickly moved on from that. So Phase 2 was the golden age of Eternal Evolution. This is what cemented it as being such a good game. And that's why it was just so free-to-play friendly. Content was being added to the game on a regular basis. Yes, though that content was tied with the new hero releases, which did get criticized. But other than us being able to call out, hey, we're seeing what you're doing there, no one really got too upset over it. But then, on July 13th, a day that will live in infamy, Phase 3 started. And Phase 3 was the Caraxia Hell Arena phase. So what did they do in Phase 3? Okay, so Korra and Hell Arena and Helentis were announced June 13th, and Hell Arena launched on the 24th. Now, nobody liked the addition of SP heroes into the game. It was very, very negative. It was the most blatant paywalled piece of content. You see here, $3,000 for a hero. It was absurd. It was kind of absurd. And I think this is when the first exodus of players started to happen. Because remember, we came off such a high in Phase 2. But Phase 3, what else happened in Phase 3? So, really, it was Korra and Hell Arena. Those were Hell Arena was the big piece of content. Everyone enjoyed Hell Arena. Hell Arena was a really, really cool mode. They promised they'd give us something. This is what replaced Guild vs. Guild. I really enjoyed it. It gave you more rewards, but it was kind of a delivery mechanism for Astral tickets, and it still remains to be a little bit of a... they added another battle pass along with Hell Arena that someone had to buy monthly. So along with the $3,000 hero they expected people to buy, they were also expecting you to buy a $30 monthly pass, more monetization. But I will say there was much rejoicing for the launch of Hell Arena, because it was new, absolutely fresh, new content. You could say it was a little bit of a reskin of just normal PvP modes, but each season comes with a different mechanic that kind of changes things up a little bit, makes a team a little bit more meta, a little bit less meta. It was good content. And then we started getting the extra levels from 7 to 10 added onto the Katosian Triangle dungeons. And with that came gear tempering. Now, gear tempering in and of itself was not considered a bad thing. You could almost say there was much rejoicing on this one, because what it did is it was basically another progression level, but it wasn't heavily monetized. Yes, you could go out there and you could buy keto tickets, because remember, they stuck a Katosian Triangle for each dungeon in the Katosian Triangle. They stuck a like $15 or is it a $9 pack to buy Katosian tickets for each dungeon. It was a blatant here now you can upgrade your gear, but here now you're gonna have to purchase these tickets. And I think for the most part the community just said, no, we're not buying those. But yes, we will take this gear tempering system, because it's going to allow us to make our heroes even stronger. So level 7 got added to Idar and Mirage Space the day that it was launched with gear tempering on August 3rd. And then we got level 7 to 8 added to Idar and Mirage Space, or 8 to 10 added to those first 2 additional ones. And then they just started releasing it fully in batches. Crimson Rot 7 to 10 on the 24th of August. Molten Abyss 7 to 10 on the September 7th. And then Azura and Thundercliffs added on September 14th, 7 to 10. Now, then Hell Arena Season 2 launched on the 18th of September. Now, what else happened during Phase 2, along with the SP Hero, along with that price tag, along with the, their push to make us buy tickets for Katosian Triangle dungeons in order to temper our gear, we got on August 10th, we got the first $200 Nord pack. You call it I think it's called the limited pack. That pack still comes around. They just re-released it recently with, I think it was Arcadia. But this was a horrible money grab. Horrible. And I remember making a video. I laughed when I saw this, because everyone remember, Nord hadn't come out since March, early March. And everyone was just expecting, and I was putting it out. I was prediction. He's coming this week. He's coming this week. He's got to come this week. He's got to come this week. He never came. Instead, he did come, but they heavily monetized him and put him behind a $200 paywall. So, first of all, they whapped us in the head with this SP unit, Korra. Then they just followed that up a month later and just whacked us in the other side of the head with this $200 Nord pack. And this is when the game started getting really criticized, because this was the most blatant money grab they have ever done. But and up till prior to Korra, this game was extremely free to play friendly. You know, they did have like this $100 Leo skin. We kind of just laughed it off. You know, Katozi tickets, we kind of just laughed it off. So really, for, you know, from November till middle of July, end of July, we had it easy. But yeah, then this first $200 Nord pack really woke us up, and you know, that's when the game started going downhill. But you know, they were adding more stuff, more content into the game. They were still giving us content. Gear tempering was cool, it's content, and the extra levels added on to the Katozian Triangle dungeons was still content. It was stuff for us to go out and conquer, even though at this point I could conquer level 10 or whatever level they released the day it was released. But I'm a big fat dirty whale, so that's to be expected. So, and then at the end of phase 2, we got another $200 Nord pack. Now it was like, oh, I see what you're doing. We're never getting Nord. You're just going to keep releasing this pack. Which was dirty. And then it's phase 4. And phase 4 is the collab. The collab phase. So 1 year anniversary is slammed in the middle, but it was sandwiched between 2 collab events. So this is kind of brings us up to where we are now. And the big difference is that no one liked the first collab event. You see, other than the collab event itself, you don't see any blue in here. It didn't come with any content. But it came with a battle pass. It came with some really boring fights. It came with some really horrible banner mechanics. But, you know, this was the first of its kind. We kind of gave it a little bit of a pass, other than saying it was just kind of a lame attempt. And then they sandwiched another Nord pack in there as well. But, you know, so we kind of had a bad taste in our mouth already from Korra and Nord being paywalled. But then we got this collab event, and it kind of sucked. So we were kind of, this is when people are kind of like, we're really paying attention. And people were starting to get a little bit angry. And we started losing players. If I have it here. So what is this? Let's just look. So this is October 5th. And let's see. So October 5th, or no, September 28th was the collab. July 13th was the SP. So if we pull this up, this is like a guild hunt tracking page. And I do have it. So where is... I have to go back here because I forgot the date already. Korra got added July 20th. So what I do is I track people that leave the game. So July 20th is basically... Here we go, July 23rd. So you see, this block, we lost a whole lot of players. And then this block, we lost another amount of players. And then it kind of stabilized a little bit. And then we lost a whole lot of players here. So I kind of use this as a metric of people leaving the game. Even though it's not really accurate. I don't know, I should never have looked at that. Anyways, back to this. So, Collab Event comes out. Ghost in the Shell Collab Event. We weren't happy. But they followed it up with the 1 year anniversary. And that did make us happy. And the question is should it have? I think why we were so happy is because we got, you know, Carriolis followed by Northeon, which were 2 awesome heroes. We loved them. Carrie's awesome. Nord's awesome. Samael's awesome. But what content did we get? What content did we get during this time? We got the yearly pass, which was, you know, pay us money, which basically let you get a bunch of red runes and gave you the exclusive trophy. They paywalled the Rickert skin during Halloween, which, if you remember that, we all thought that they were going to give us enough candles to get the Rickert skin for free. No. Turns out you had to shell out, I think, at least $50. And then they just threw in another SP hero during the 1 year. right when we were kind of feeling good about the game again, they, you know, because they gave us double chip, they gave us a holiday event. I can't remember. Oh yeah, Halloween holiday event. You know, they gave us all this good stuff. The yearly pass everyone liked. And then they just slammed another SP hero right in the middle of that. Boom. So no content during the first collab event. Yearly pass doesn't count as content. I don't know why I have it here in blue. And then just uppercut you. If we've already gotten hit to this side of the head and we got hit to this side of the head, then the release of Artemis was a straight uppercut to the jaw. But on November 9th, we did get a piece of content, that being Digital War. And I flamed this hard. Oh, and that came with a $100 Nord skin. So you can see that all of the red, which is monetized content or new levels of monetization or big explicit levels of monetization, starting in Phase 4, or starting just prior to, it ramped up really hard. Really hard. Like, you know, there was rejoicing over double chip and Nord coming back. And that somehow seemed to fuel positivity in the game, even though it was sandwiched with a lot of paywalled content. And then Hell Arena Season 3 launched on November 13th. And then we got Guild Expedition, or the beta for Guild Expedition, which was new content, even though it was kind of a upgraded guild hunt. But you know what? I still enjoyed it. It was new content. The rewards were crap. And some of the way that the game mode was structured could be criticized, but for the most part, it was new content. And what it did is it gave you a leaderboard against other guilds, which was kind of fun. I remember our guild pushing really hard during the first iteration of Guild Expedition. I know it was hard on officers because he constantly had to like keep people on their toes. It was really hard to track members' hits, whereas in Guild Hunt we can track every single hit. This one, we didn't have any tracking tools, so it was really hard to organize a guild effort into this, but it was new content. So the 1-year anniversary, it gave us Nord, gave us double chip, it gave us Guild Expedition. We were kind of distracted from all of the huge amount of paywalled content that we got, or the new pay mechanics, or the pay to win mechanics and content, or not. I don't want to call it packs content. But all this red stuff, we kind of ignored it or kind of forgot about it until they added the Awakening system on November 30th. You know, the Awakening system, and I've said this in other videos, it's cool. There's a lot of good stuff that you can discuss with the Awakening system, but with it, along with it came, basically, if you wanted to get it easily, it was highly monetized, to upwards of around $900 to get a Awakened Hero Day 1. But they also changed the way Giant Tower works, so you can't get a free copy of the Giant Tower Hero. You have to go for the crystal. And this is when, like, I was told this new system was going to affect the Mirror of Reformations going forward. And as we see in the current Star Echo event with the Collab event, you're not getting a chip shop. You know, the Awakening system's kind of like pushed out stuff that free-to-play need and slaps the price tag on it. You see here, was this November 23rd, we got the $200 Arcadia pack, which was formerly the Nord pack. I said it was December 4th because they always launch them on a Monday. Awakening system also came with a price tag on Soul Awakened crystals and the hero-specific crystals. $100 for a Soul crystal, $50 per hero crystal. And then that was followed up immediately the week after with the current collab, which we're not going to discuss in this video, but that I don't really have to say a whole lot. The chip exchange was removed. We had 2 collab battle passes for money. Asuka, if you wanted to get her day 1, cost money. I'm calling Phase 4. This is just the give me money and we'll give you shitty collab events phase. Yes, there's some good stuff to say about the 1-year anniversary, but it was sandwiched in between garbage, and it also came with huge price tags. And it was this awakening system, and then followed up with the Collab event that gets us to where we are today with massive negative sentiment surrounding this game, because it's, you know, the new SP hero, like SP heroes were dumb. Get out of here. Let's make this small. Phase 1, honeymoon phase. Phase 2, I know this is too small for you guys to see, but maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger. Phase 2 was the awesome content release cycle that gave us all the dungeons. Phase 3 was when they... Phase 3 is really, like, really from what you see this screen right here. And I know it's small, you can't read it. On July 13th, when they announced Korra, that is when the game switched to monetization mode. And yes, they gave us, you see in blue, that is content. Yes, in Phase 2, they did give us the dungeons. And they gave us gear tempering, which kind of took the sting out of it a little bit. Yes, they gave us Hell Arena, so they did actually continue to give us content with their monetization. But, like, just look at this screen. Like, here's how much blatant monetization was in Phase 2, and here's how much blatant monetization is in Phase 3. It's almost like it's doubling each phase. Phase 1 had nothing, just what came with the game's launch. Phase 2 was huge, and we had, I don't know, you could break this out into how many of these per month of content. Not a whole lot, but there was also a lot of green. There was reasons for much rejoicing in the game. But Phase 3 and Phase 4, man, they hurt. They hurt, and they hurt a lot. 2 SP heroes. Massive monetization. Nord was being held hostage. Subpar collaboration events with horrible mechanics. And this is where we are. My hope, and I'm calling January 4th to be getting a Phase 5. I only have optimism. I have no idea what to expect. I can only hope that it is something better. You know, yes, okay, you've made your money, but you have to stop with this, because you're going to kill your game. You're going to completely kill your game if you continue on the way you did the last 3 months. October, November, and December are a shit show. There's just no other way to describe it. But I put out a poll recently, and I'm going to do a video on this later about... It does seem like there is hope for them to retain a massive chunk of their current player base, but they have to switch directions. And they have to switch directions very, very hard back to the way Phase 2 was. Lots of content release cycles. Every 2 weeks, every week, give us new pieces of content. And if you're in my Discord, I do believe it was Tito, and shout out to Tito. He did say that the devs do have a lot of content planned. They, in their minds, and this is his words, think that this game has a 4 to a 5 year life cycle. So I'm assuming that they must have some stuff planned out. Obviously, if they want to get a new SP every, was it 4 months? It's going to take a while. But they have to do massive content updates to the game as well. And if they don't, they're going to kill the game. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to be pessimistic. But you can see the numbers. You can see the guilds crumbling. You can see all of the whales leaving. Phase 5, and I'm going to remain optimistic that they can do this. But Phase 5, they have to drastically pivot directions back to very light, moderate paywalled content, but plentiful content releases. So we're going to wrap that up right there, ladies and gentlemen. Totally a different kind of video. I take some pride in maintaining this sheet, because you can really get a really good high-level overview of the game's development through this sheet, just from tracking all of the events, the content updates, the paywalled packs, the paywalled crap, everything. You know, I used to be able to predict the cycles of heroes to a T. Now the Collab heroes have totally screwed that up. But I take a lot of pride in the sheet, and I wanted to make this video because it seems like we are at a critical junction in this game. It's either going to live or die, depending on what they do next. I know that sounds dire, but that's just the facts. That's just the way it is. If you guys want to take a look at this spreadsheet and really pick through it, if there's anything to add that I've missed, the one thing I don't have in there is the addition of levels 15 or 16, 17, and 18 to Guild Hunt. And I don't know when that was. So if you know the exact date, comment that, put that in the comment section of this video so I can add it on here, because that is content. That is content they gave us. I hope you enjoyed this different kind of video for a Tuesday. I will be here tomorrow evening for the patch notes. Here's a tip for you. If you're seeing this today on Tuesday, there is a wishlist giant tower coming on Thursday, and it is going to have Cariolis, Teresh, and Miranda in it. You notice how there's no Awakening heroes. So normally this would be the week for Cariolis to be in Giant Tower. So he most likely will be, but you're not going to be able to get a copy of him from Giant Tower because you're going to have to get the Awakened Crystal. Because that's how we get them nowadays. So there's a little piece of information, a little behind the scenes information for you. So ladies and gentlemen, tell me what you thought of this video in the comment section below. The word of the day, I tried not to cough this whole time, is bracelets. My kid makes these little bracelets. You know, there's this thing, there's a bunch of stuff sitting on my desk. So the word of the day is bracelet. Tell me what you think of this video. Tell me if you think that this is the make or break point in the game, as I seem to think it is. And yeah, put bracelet in your comment as well. Till next time, everybody. Cheers, peace. Bye-bye. Sorry for being a 45-minute video.